Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kira.
And we are
the Keepers of the Books,
your online librarians. And we're here with an Ask the Librarians question. What's the difference between all these comic books, comic strips, graphic novels, manga, and are they appropriate for my kids? Because they don't all seem appropriate, and what do I do and how do I figure that out? We're here to help explain that really quick. Comic strips are what you're gonna find traditionally in the newspapers. Just short, a frame, 4 frames. The traditional comic book is what you are used to, not the digests, but the ones that look more like a magazine, 30, 40 pages. You've got Batman, Spider-Man, all the Marvel and Avengers and the ones that you're used to. And then you have the comic book digests, which are basically lots of short comic stories put together into one of these. This is a good example. And then you have the comic books that are your Garfield, your Far Side, your Mad, and comic books like this, where it's a single story and it's a short, super short book. Then you have graphic novels. Graphic novels are more of a book length, but there's generally a single story. Now, they're not all quite this long. This one's quite long, but they could be 100 pages or so. Here, is this one a graphic novel or a comic book?
It's both.
It's both?
The reason why it's both is because it is a full story that's illustrated, but it's also a comic book because it's short.
Well, how about this one? This one has an ISBN number, and well, the pages aren't numbered, but I'd say it's about 100 pages. Oh, it's 80 pages, it says on the back.
So usually comic books are going to be your ones that are 50 pages and under. And then something like this is a step up. It's still a graphic novel. When you get into graphic novels, they read like a normal book left to right. They also tend to have a lot of action in them.
Some other graphic novels that you may be familiar with are The Lunch Lady or Baby Mouse
or Fashion Kitty.
These are quite a young age. You can tell there's not a lot of words on the page. Amulet's one that's more for middle readers and junior high.
Very popular at my library, and I'm sure at yours as well.
Oh, Amulet is, as well as Bone, and they really like Cardboard and Ghostopolis. Those are some of the most popular ones we have.
That new Raina Telgemeier Ghosts that we reviewed in a previous video, that is another popular option for a graphic novel. Now,
where it starts getting tricky is when you get into the manga. Well, what's the difference between manga and anime? Anime is a cartoon version of the same thing. If it's in a video format, you're talking animation and anime. Animation, anime. Manga.
So to explain manga, it's like taking the movie, the anime, and putting it in stills, like still frames of pictures. And then, if you'll open up, they'll see. It also has, first throughout, some text. And here's the confusing part. It reads the opposite direction. So instead of left to right, it reads right to left and up and down. Instead of side to side, like our
If you open it the wrong way,
it even tells you.
It usually tells you you're reading this wrong. This one does not, which is bizarre. Okay, this one tells you, hey, you're reading the wrong direction. Here is how you read me.
Which is good because it can be confusing for most kids.
The other thing is they have ratings on the back. Or most of them do. You need to pay very, very close attention to that age rating. Because even if this first 6 or 7 episodes, even if it's marked older teen and they don't seem to be going into that age range, they will take the liberty to, and will usually, if not always, go into that older rating eventually. Kira, what else do you want to tell us about finding the age appropriateness on manga?
So to find the age appropriateness on manga, when it doesn't have that on the back of the book, I like to do an internet search for the manga or the anime because it will be the same rating typically, with a very few exceptions. The other thing I do is I go to a site called Anime Bonsai. That's a great one for finding ratings. Look up things like Common Sense Media. They're a little more conservative on their ratings, but they'll give you at least a rough idea.
Do we have that issue with regular comic books and graphic novels with the age appropriateness? Because they don't have a rating on them necessarily.
Some of them do.
So you'll notice with Marvel and DC and some of those that they do have some that are definitely more for older kids. So you'll notice that Deadpool is definitely made for an adult audience. That was originally a comic book. When you have questions in comic books or graphic novels on what age range is appropriate, I just call or go into the comic book shop and ask them.
So I also have a few tips to kind of tell roughly, if they're going to be okay for certain ages. All ages, you'll notice the characters look like cartoons. They're very much the cutesy, very exaggerated character look to them.
And then they go up just a little bit.
Then they still look cartoonish when you get into about middle grade. Start having a few more human characteristics. You'll still find animals in them a lot. And then you move up to older teen, where you start seeing they actually look fairly human-like. And then the oldest ones, the adult level, they will look adult-like, but also almost a real adult. I also will pay attention to the character's age range. So, for example, if it's offered, and the only living boy, he's 12. Pretty obvious that 12 and under will enjoy that. Where if you move up to something like Honor Girl, she's 15. So obviously it's gonna bend towards the older age of teens.
Is she only 15 in this book?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a mature book for a 15-year-old.
That one's a little more mature.
But I would say that this is almost definitely a high school book. But I wouldn't just stop at 15 like we usually do. I would say this would even appeal to 17 or 18 quite easily.
Another way you can tell is if you read the description of what's going on in the book. You'll notice the description is fleeing tragedy and mistreatment. So it's very vague on the bad stuff. A young boy named Ren hides among the crowds in Tokyo's busy Shibuya ward.
And it says it includes animals, and there's animals all over the cover.
Whereas you move up to an adult one and it says, talking about politics and religion, Tel Aviv beachfront, international cast of characters mingle with locals and war and conflict and beer. Obviously, you're moving to an adult book because it's very violent, a lot more mature content.
Love, blues, and terror in Tel Aviv, and a bomb jacket strapped on him.
So just a rough way of telling. If you in a pinch, ask your comic book shops or a local librarian. They can give you some help on that front too. One last thing about manga. There's two different genres, Shonen and Shojo. They really have no English translation. Basically, Shonen means boy, very much adventure. Shojo means very girly, almost exaggerated girly. When you move into the teens, you're gonna start getting into he loves me not, which most boys are gonna wanna read anyways.
Also, especially when you get into the older teen and the mature, you're going to have something called fan service, which means there will be very excess cleavage and some scenes without clothing or even sexual content. So especially when you're getting to older teen and adult, you do need to look for that if you are buying for younger ages or for schools. Well, we hope that made this simple. It can be a complex topic, and every book can be in itself, and then you've got story arcs inside of entire series and everything else. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments and we'll try to answer them for you. We're by no means necessarily experts on anime and manga, but we do have it in our libraries and do have to know quite a bit about it. But we do know where to ask if we have questions. That's important. Just don't forget to ask if you have more questions. Somewhere around here, you'll notice that we have a subscribe button. Please hit subscribe and the notifications button so that you know when we have new episodes coming out. And if you hit it if you like the episode and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And in the comments, please let us know, do you like comic books or do you like graphic novels? I personally do like comic books and graphic novels because they get kids to read that don't normally read. Eventually, they do graduate into novels, usually.
I like them because they use both sides of your brain. So you're forced to develop not only your creative side, but your logical side.
They do engage more of the brain than a regular novel statistically, and through scientific research, we do know that. Until next time, happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.